How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Aha, yes. That's exactly the answer I was going for. I'm fine, thank you. And you? That is the rote answer that I get from all of my students from elementary school all the way to high school. Whenever I ask my students, how are you? Everyone says, oh, I'm fine, thank you. And you? That is the response that I get. I joke with some of my high school students that if the building were on fire and we were all running and screaming and trying to get out, and I ran into one of my students and I said, are you okay? How are you? They would still say, oh, I'm fine, thank you. And you? I'm fine. I'm fine. That's the answer we give, right, to this simple question. But I wonder sometimes if we feel comfortable enough giving an honest answer to a question like that. How are you? How are you? Are we okay to say, I'm actually not fine? I'm not okay. I learned when I first moved here that the issues of depression and suicide are really prominent here, especially among young people. And it's something that really alarmed me and made me really sad. And I wondered, especially as a teacher and a foreigner, if this was something that I could even address. Am I allowed to say something about depression? Am I allowed to say something about difficult feelings and being sad? I will say that I am not a mental health professional. Obviously, I'm just a teacher. But I've dealt with a lot of really difficult emotions. I've dealt with some really difficult experiences. And I want to share with you a few ideas that I have about dealing with those things, because I know it's not something that we often talk about here. I want to say that perhaps working through these emotions and using the tools of gratitude, of journaling, of writing down your emotions, writing down what you feel, and monitoring your thoughts might be able to help us deal with difficult emotions. I want to talk about some of the triggers of depression, some of the things that we tend to go through that might bring on these really dark and sad feelings. Some of those triggers would be abuse, certain medications, certain conflicts, a death or a loss. For some people it's genetic. Maybe their parents dealt with depression or their grandparents. Isolation, serious illness, and substance abuse. For me, in the past year, I experienced at least 4 of those triggers for depression. Right before I moved here last year, my grandmother passed away. I got a call literally 2 days before I was to leave and come to South Korea that my grandmother was gone. I had just left Tallahassee, where my family lives, and I had spent time with her. And it was great to do that, but I knew that she was sick. And it really made me sad that I wasn't able to be there and to help my family grieve. Instead, I was here, starting a new life. And I was excited, but I was also really, really sad too. Beyond that, I moved, right? One of the other triggers of depression is a major move, a major change in your life. I moved to a new country. I started a new job. This was a place where I didn't have any friends, so I was really alone. Another thing that happened was some of my other friendships kind of fell by the wayside because I was here. I lost a relationship that was really important to me as well. So those 4 things, plus the isolation of being in a new place and not knowing anyone, really, really affected me. And I started to notice some of the signs and symptoms of depression. Now, it's different for every person, but for me, I noticed that I started sleeping a lot more. I noticed that I was sad all the time. I noticed that being in a new place and having new experiences was not making me excited anymore. I was not excited about life. And I realized that I needed to make some changes if I was going to be able to enjoy my time here in South Korea and actually make it through this year. Through a phone call with a friend, I started doing a few things that I would like to share with you. I started journaling. I started a gratitude practice that helped me to see the good things in my life. And I started monitoring my thoughts. And those three things have helped me to have an incredible time here. And have turned what could have been a descent into depression and into sadness into a chance to find joy in life again. I start my day with a gratitude practice. Most people think that gratitude is saying, oh, I'm so happy and I'm so thankful and it's great and life is so good. And that's a part of gratitude. But gratitude is a practice. It's something that you do every day. For me, I start with at least three things. At least three things. Most of the time, I can list more than three things that I'm grateful for. But if I start with three, it helps to change my mind. It's like a little pivot. I can go from feeling these negative thoughts and negative emotions to starting to feel like, oh, I have some amazing things in my life that I can be thankful for. And it can be as simple as the sun is shining today and I'm so happy about that. I woke up and I have my health and I'm okay and I have a job and I have friends. On difficult days, it could be as simple as, oh, I'm so thankful that I caught the bus in time so I could get to school on time. I'm thankful that my students stayed awake during my class, right? It can be anything. But starting your day thinking about what you're thankful for can shift your entire mindset, and it can shift your entire day. Science also supports a gratitude practice. When you experience gratitude, when you think about the things you're thankful for, the chemicals dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin are released in the brain. And these are called the feel-good hormones. So these are the things that your brain releases so that you can feel good. And the more you feel good, the more these hormones are released. So it's nice. It's like a nice feedback loop. The more you feel good, the more these hormones are released. The more they're released, the more you feel good. So, for me, gratitude is huge, and it helps to shift my perspective. Next, I tend to talk about, or rather, write about, my experiences and what I'm feeling. This is a way for me to kind of get a bird's eye view of my life and see what the issues are, see my place in what's going on, and how I can maybe change the situation. This shift in perspective is incredibly important when you're trying to battle depression or when you're trying to come to a place where you can accept what's going on in your life. Journaling is also supported by research as well. At the University of Texas, they took 46 students and they asked them to write in a journal for 15 minutes a day for about a week. Half of those students, they said, you can write about anything. You can write about a soccer game you just saw. You can write about a football game. You can write about anything. But it has to be at least 15 minutes for about a week. And then the other half, they said, okay, for 15 minutes, I want you to write about something difficult that you experienced in your life. Write about something that was really difficult. Maybe some emotions that you've experienced. Write these things down for 15 minutes. And then they tracked these students for 6 months after this experiment. They found that the students who actually talked about what was really going on in their lives, those difficult emotions, the students that wrote about that, they had less health issues for that 6 months. They were actually healthier than the students who just wrote about anything. So, journaling is incredibly important for me. And also, it helps to eliminate stress. at the University of Chicago, students who wrote about their thoughts and feelings before taking an important exam actually did better on the exam than the students who didn't. So if that's not incentive to start writing, I don't know what is. Finally, I've been learning how to monitor my thoughts. When negative thoughts start to creep in, especially thoughts that make me feel like I'm maybe not worthy of an experience, or those thoughts that say, why would you want to do that? You're not good at this. Why would you think that you could talk about something so difficult as sadness or depression and think that people would really listen to you? When those thoughts start to creep in, I recognize that they're thoughts that I don't have to believe. I don't have to sit here and believe that I'm not worthy. I can take those thoughts and I can turn them down and say thank you, but no thank you. And I can choose to move in the direction that I want to go, even if I'm scared. For me, that's incredibly important. My favorite artist, Georgia O'Keeffe, she has a quote that I love and that I keep with me all the time. She says, "I've been absolutely terrified every moment of my life, but I've never let it keep me from doing anything I've wanted to do." So whenever I have those negative thoughts, I notice them, I say thank you, but no thank you, and I continue to move forward. So, please, those of you especially who tend to struggle sometimes like I do with sadness or negative emotions, continue to monitor those thoughts. And if you notice that they're mostly negative, you have the chance to change them. Over time, you can change that running tape in the back of your mind. So it's my hope that next time you go through a difficult period in life, that you have people in your life that you can actually turn to and talk to about these things. I hope that you'll find the courage to fight for your joy through gratitude, that you'll discover your own mind and your own thoughts through journaling, and that you'll learn to refute the negative thoughts in your mind through monitoring them and saying no, and moving forward in the way you want to go anyway. And should you find yourself struggling with depression, if you get to a place where you can't make the changes you want to make, please consider talking to someone, whether it's a teacher or a friend or even a professional. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in getting the help that you need. I mean, consider it. If your body is not healthy, if you're sick and you have to go to the doctor, no one tells you, why are you going to the doctor? That's crazy. Don't go to the doctor. Just walk it off. You're okay. You're okay. No one tells you that. So if you're having issues in your mind, why is it that we try to make people feel bad about going to a doctor that can help them with that? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. So it's my hope that if you do get to a place where you cannot handle life, that you would seek help. And you would stay in the game of life, because it can find really interesting ways to surprise you. Stay in the game. Stay here. Allow life to surprise you. Thank you.